Well, it screams out from one of the front pages of your newspapers: migration revolution. Far fewer low-skilled workers will be allowed in from Europe after Brexit. Both Sajid, Javid and Theresa May pledged last night. It's called the biggest immigration reform for decades, with Sajid Javid vowing to end EU free movement completely. He says the system will focus on skilled workers, skilled workers now. And he's being supported, of course, by PM Theresa May, who's with me later. Let's go to Mike Galsworthy, who's founder of Scientists for the EU and NHS Against Brexit. So I sense, Mr. Galsworthy, you're not going to be particularly enamoured of this scheme. Good morning to you.
Good morning. No, absolutely not. I think it's all a bit of a gimmick, really, as your correspondent was saying earlier. It's throwing red meat to some of the base, rather than actually working something that is sensible. So one of the interesting features here is that there's a lot of controls and a lot of capacity you have within the free movement framework, which just haven't been used. So, for example, free movement doesn't allow you to come to another country and live off that state without contributing. You've got 3 months in which you can travel around, after which you have to be able to prove that you've got the means or prove that you've got a job in order to stay there. And then if your concern is about, for example, people out competing local British workers, well, the recent Migration Advisory Committee report showed that the EU citizens don't do that. But if you wanted to prioritise local workers anyway, you could, because that's the deal that the Swiss negotiated with the EU. And that's
they're not in the EU, of course. Of course, they're not in the EU.
No, but they subscribe to free movement. So why don't we do the same? All Western European countries are in the free movement framework because it's beneficial for all of us. It's a two-way street. It's advantageous to our citizens too. And so we're plucking ourselves right out for very little gain and developing this whole new system, which is going to cause incredible headaches to people here, to small businesses here, and to our own citizens that want to travel around.
But what's wrong with an independent nation deciding who can or cannot come and live and work here?
Oh, absolutely you can. And all of these independent nations...
You can't currently. If you're a member of the European Union... Well, no, you've just talked about the benefit.
That we already have, yeah.
We can't currently.
Well, we have, because we decided collectively as a policy what is fair for an immigration system on our continent. We all decided that people can't lynch off the state. We all decided on this 3-month rule. We all decided on these basic rights that you have integral to it. So this is the policy that we as a nation have had so far, and it's been beneficial to us. If you look at the latest immigration reports from August, 87,000 came from the EU and 235,000 came from outside the EU.
Yes.
Now, if you want to hit a 100,000 target, attacking the high-value 87,000, where we've already got lots of controls available, by destroying the whole system and throwing those people on the non-EU system, which isn't working well at the moment, is just going to strain our Home Office colossally.
Lastly, you say it's been working well. I wonder if you'd say that if you were a plasterer or a carpenter who's seen their day rate go down, or whether you had a bunch of Eastern Europeans who were defecating in your front garden. I wonder if you think it would have gone well then.
That would be a problem at the national level, absolutely, because, for example, I have a friend who went to Brussels and her boyfriend had to prove that he could support her in Brussels financially and do that paperwork. Again, this is within freedom of movement. If our government has let down responsibility for doing the checks of the individuals coming in, making sure that they are earning enough or contributing enough, and just not doing any of that over years and years and years, and then blaming it on Brussels, and then deciding to rip up a whole immigration system and layer on more bureaucracy because of it, then I would be angry too, but I wouldn't be angry at the free movement system, which all of our continent basically subscribes to. I would be angry with our government and their neglect in this area.
Mike Galsworthy, thank you. You're founder of Scientists for EU. It's 12 after 8.